we move on to react to two players having huge games. I say yesterday, but technically we're past midnight, so it's not yesterday not anymore. It's technically not 2 days ago, but two big games that occurred on November 13th, or two players that had some big performances. You go to Victor Wembanyama, who was able to drop a 50 burger against the Washington Wizards. Take it or take it or leave it. We know what the Washington Wizards are, or more specifically, what they aren't. But Spurs was able to get that victory and get themselves back to 500 with a 50 burger from Wembanyama. And then Giannis was able to get 59 points as they beat the Detroit Pistons. Now, again, take it or leave it. We know what Detroit Pistons are or what they aren't. Detroit Pistons have a better record than Milwaukee Bucks this season, which shows what's going on with Milwaukee. I believe Giannis had 22 of their 24 first quarter points. He finished with 59, had 14 rebounds and 7 assists in 44 minutes. He's just crazy, and it took that overtime effort to beat the Buccaneers, to beat the Detroit Pistons. When Wembanyama, he had the 50 within regulation, so he didn't need overtime to get that. But they were both close games that came down to late moments. So they're two great players. Let's go with Giannis's performance first. For me, it was almost more of a negative, at least from the Bucks' perspective, this one, because you really need 59 points in a Himalayan effort from Giannis Antetokounmpo that, first of all, his 22 points even kept you, in that first quarter, even kept you alive in this game against a Pistons team that are entering 4-8. Keep in mind, this game is played, you're playing this game at home as well in the Pfizer Forum. You're playing this game in Milwaukee. You needed 22 points from Giannis to even stay in this game in that first quarter, 22 out of the 24 points. And then on top of that, you needed 59 points to scrape a victory in overtime. Clock's ticking on Doc Rivers. Clock is ticking on Doc Rivers, They've been pretty horrendous this season, and they had a really bad end to last season. And I'm just seeing Doc Rivers in his post-game pressers. It's just, I don't know. And this is Doc Rivers. I had so huge respect for him as a head coach, especially in my early days of being being a novice, being an NBA fan. But yeah, it's not. It hasn't been good enough. It has not been good enough. And Milwaukee, they need to figure out. As far as Giannis, again, he's a great player. You know what I mean? He's a ridiculously great player. Giannis Antetokounmpo is, and again, I talk about LeBron James not being able to stop him going to the basket, but who's a close second to him. If you give him room to penetrate the lane, and he can get he can penetrate the basket with force, it's pretty hard to stop him from getting there too, because he can dunk over you, he can finish over you. He was 21 of 34. Majority of those points came in the paint. He was efficient. He shoots 61% this season because a lot of his buckets come from under the rim, come from being bunnies. He's a very, very efficient player. What I like about Giannis is that he doesn't have the greatest ability. He's only shooting 22%, but he doesn't shot chuck it from three. Players, even when they don't have the ability to shoot, they tend to shot chuck. And Giannis, he does not do that. He realizes what his strengths are and what they are. And I admire him for that. And I admire him for taking advantage of what his greatest ability is being able to attack the basket, living under the rim, and being a menace in there. And 22 out of the first 24 points is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. And I really wouldn't want to know where this Bucks team would be without Giannis. And when they make when I hear the reports about, Giannis, potentially might get traded if this Bucks thing doesn't figure out. Maybe Giannis will go in and hand the trade request. But, you're thinking now, why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he? He doesn't want to rot away his career, rest of his career in Milwaukee. He's 29 years old at the peak of his prime. He wants to be playing in those big games and those championship moments. And, I really like to think, what if Giannis never won that championship? Because let's be for real. I mean, KD's foot is like, a centimeter back. It completely changes the whole notion of basketball history. Giannis never gets that ring. Brooklyn probably win that ring because I believe Kyrie was going to be able to make it back for that next round, for that conference finals. And if not then definitely for the finals. And I believe either way, if they would have played the Hawks, which I think Brooklyn Nets would have managed to get past the Hawks. And then, if they win that championship, the Nets, KD and them, they're still probably Brooklyn Nets, but obviously that's revisionist history. Bucks won it. Giannis got his ring, but to think, maybe if they didn't get that ring, wow, Giannis's position, well, Giannis's up to this point, Giannis would be almost Aaron Rodgers. Wembanyama, he was able to get 50. He did it in a different fashion. Not, he attacked the basket a lot, but majority of his points came from three-pointers. He scored 32 points off threes. He was 8 of 16, 50% shooting from three. And yeah, look, I love Wembanyama. I think he has a very, very smooth stroke, and to get 50, he's been ridiculous. He's averaging so far 22 points a game on 47% field goal percentage, 34% from three. Not great, but I did expect a little bit of a bigger jump from his rookie season. His point average has only gone up by 0.6 of a point. His field goal percentage is around the same. Three-pointer got a little bit better, and rebounds is about the same. I expected to see a little bit of a bigger jump as he got more adjusted into the league. And what I didn't expect, I thought we would start seeing him, we would see him attack the basket more and live more under the rim and play like someone who's 7'4" or whatever ridiculous height he is. And yes, he's not the most beefy player, but to take advantage of you being 7'3", 7'4", you don't really need that muscle. You could shoot over people, and you could still play under the rim and still be effective because you wouldn't need to, move them off your spot. You'd be able to just shoot over them, and we don't see that a lot. This is a dude that loves to settle for threes. I mean, he had 16 threes last game. He had 12 the game before, 9 the game before. He had 13 against the Jazz, was 4 of 13. Sometimes he gets a little bit too three-ball happy and mid-range happy when he could be attacking the basket more and being a whole lot more effective if he were to live under the rim just a little bit more. And I don't want to criticize him highly because, well, I still think he's a great player, and he has a potential to, really be up there. But it's something that he does need to figure out, to not be way too reliant on the three-point ball, not be way reliant on the mid-range, and sometimes just live under the paint. And, if you're guarding someone who's 7'3", when you see him shooting from 3-4, steps away from the three-point line, you're relieved at that shot because, well, that's the only thing you could do. Let's say he wants to go in under the paint. You're not going to be able to contest the shot under the paint. You're not going to be able to contest the shot, period. So the further away it is from the basket, the better chances you have of him missing. So, I believe the more times he shoots threes, the more times he gives, the defenders a little bit more relief. That's the way I see it. But overall, great performances from both players. They're both tremendous players, and I look forward to seeing them face off each other. Last year when Wembanyama played Giannis, we had a really big showdown, and we had big games from both. I'd like to see that again. I'm very looking forward to it.